Hello, and welcome to the Authentically Elisa podcast, Unmasking Your True Self. I'm Elisa Bogarts, your guide on this journey to discovering the most genuine version of yourself. Each episode is a step towards unveiling the incredible power that lies within you as we strip away all the shoulds and shine a light on the coulds. Together, we'll explore the path of self-empowerment, self-confidence, and the courage to be unapologetically you. Thank you for being here. So let's dive into today's episode. Today, we're going to be talking about the importance of clarifying your brand and having a custom website that reflects that brand to establish your authority online. And today I have an amazing guest with me, Lori Osborne. And Lori is affectionately known as the Authority Amplifier. She's the founder of Biz Bolster Web Solutions and the creator of the Authority Blueprint. With nearly a decade of brand strategy and website design, Lori helps thought leaders clarify their brand and translate it into authority-driven websites that attract ideal clients and amplifies their impact online. Welcome, Lori. It's happy to have you here.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here. I love it. Thank you.
Yeah, me too. So tell us how you got sort of into this field of work and just why you're so passionate about it.
Well, there's definitely a story behind that. Brace yourself. um, I have been in technology for 20 plus years. I was a project manager in the corporate world, and I found out I had a brain tumor. It's a meningioma, benign brain tumor, but it pretty much stopped me in my tracks. They said it could not be removed because it had become part of my carotid artery. It sits right on my pituitary gland.
Oh, wow.
But at that point, it was causing my left eye to droop. So they needed to go in and get it off the optical nerve. Well, when they did that, they nicked the carotid artery, caused a brain bleed, caused the left eye to go mostly blind, left me with debilitating chronic headaches, double vision for over a year, and little things, well, maybe not little things, like I couldn't handle stress. My emotional state was a mess. So the idea of going back to the corporate world and technical project management was just not an option. Plus, they finally had to fire me because I had to take so much time off work. I also had to go through radiation and everything else. So I spent about a year
going back to tech would be a bad idea. Talk about stressful.
Yeah, exactly. And I had a great job, but yeah, exactly. So I spent about a year just kind of looking at what could I do if I was to work again that I could do from home and on my own. And I had been self-employed before. I'd been a technical recruiter. I knew I didn't want to do that again. But I just started playing around, and one day I decided to build a website on Squarespace, and I called it Health Nut Like Grandma. And I did it because I had recently, in addition to this, I had recently lost my mom to cancer at 63. And I also lost my grandmother to cancer at 63. So I kind of wanted to tell the story and share about meningiomas and just, kind of just share. Well, as I'm doing this, I'm building this website and going, it was really fun. Wow, I had no idea that you could build a website so easy, because I had been in corporate America and I had been a tester for websites and had given input on websites, but I was not a coder. I never wanted to be a coder. But when I realized how easy it could be, and then I realized I was really good at it. And then I'm like, wait a minute, I get to be creative. I've never been creative before in a job. So here's something that I can use my technical skills, use that understanding and knowledge and my creative skills. And I bet there are business owners out there that want easy websites and have no clue how to do it.
Yeah.
And I just started doing it and I fell in love. Like I always say I'm grateful for this tumor because of it, because I finally at 46 years old discovered my passion and realized I should have been doing this my entire career. And thank goodness I have it now. So
Yeah.
that's how it began almost 10 years ago. September will be 10 years since it all began.
Wow. Very cool. Yeah, I love that. I
Thank you.
love being able to like find the gift in everything really. And so something like that, yeah, really helped you. And I, yeah, what an amazing story and how you kind of was like, actually, this is really cool. And the thing that's the best about it is that there are so many people out there that do not think it's cool or fun or easy. They're like, I don't want to touch that with a 10-foot pole. No,
I've
thank you. I
always,
got
in every job I've ever had, I've always been the one that did the things that nobody else wanted to do, that I was good at and I loved. Like that seems to be what I was born with, was this like, I'll do what you don't want to do,
it.
especially on the technical side.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. So, I've always found you to be a very authentic person, but what is running your business with authenticity? What does that mean to you?
it it means being real. It means quit trying to be something that you're not. Um, it's being honest and open. Uh, we were joking before we started about coaching. I've never wanted to be a therapist or a coach or anything, but I do find that people naturally open up to me, and I think it's because I'm so open. I don't I don't live in a world of secrets. I'm overly open probably in too many cases, but I want people to know who they are dealing with, whether it's business or personal. Like I don't want to hide behind a facade. So to me, it's just really being true to yourself and true with others, and then combining it with, like, your next question is probably about integrity. It's combining with integrity of
Yeah.
being an honest, and not, I was going to say direct, it's not necessarily a harsh form of direct, but just being open and honest and truthful. Like, and it is one of my number one values in my business. I will not do this business if I can't be authentic and exhibit integrity.
Yeah, yeah, and I think that's so important and I think a lot of businesses do that and some businesses do not do that. I see it with some people and I think, oh, at least it's not within my integrity. And I guess everybody has a different sort of, I guess it's like a scale of what that means to different people. I
Right.
suppose. But yeah, no, I really love that. That is, yeah, just being real and open and that is one of your high values. I think that's amazing because yeah, I do see it in the world where sometimes we're like in a posting party together. For those of you that don't know, it's like an idea of helping post each other's social media posts. We all get together and comment and react on other people's posts and I'm in about like five of them. And sometimes I see some people's posts or something, or if I'm working with certain clients and they're getting me to like do set up emails and stuff for them, and I read it and I'm like, there's lies in this, And then for me, I'm like, oh, that's not an integrity. Like you're going to try to push people to do things, or you're like creating fake urgency, or and all this stuff. And I was like, oh, and so. Do you ever find that when you're building websites for people, if they give you something that maybe doesn't align with your integrity?
It's funny that you asked that. It's amazing to me how little is provided to me when I build websites. And I think it's probably how I have formed my business and just how I work. I really try to make it very easy for my clients. And now I've even made it so much easier because now my authority blueprint is a custom GPT that I build for every single client. So they don't have to provide me any content. I literally can use their GPT in their voice with their knowledge to build their website. So I'm sure I have at one point in the last almost 10 years had someone, nothing's coming to mind though. And I also think you tend to attract what is important to you. And there have been probably a handful of clients that I have not felt in general exhibited authenticity and integrity. And no matter what they put in writing, I mean, I have had a few that I'm like, just in general going, eh,
Mm-hmm.
you're
Yeah.
not in line. And we didn't tend to have a long-term relationship because, our values don't mesh.
Yeah. 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 And it's always interesting with that. Yeah, but I think it's so important in everything that we do for our businesses, whether it be on our websites, with our branding, like, who we are, how we show up in networking, how we show up with our clients, how we show up on when we're speaking and podcasts and things. And then also, yeah,
Yes.
and everything that we write, our marketing, our posts, our all of that, I think, to really, because sometimes even, um, like I've noticed it with myself, because it's something I always really drive for, is being like, okay, I really want to be honest, which I think is just this, yeah, really being in line with integrity. And so, sometimes I'll be like writing an email to somebody and I might say something and I'm like, that's not entirely true, or that's exaggerating a little bit, or maybe, and I actually like, well, actually look at that and be like, am I really saying that? Or if I missed a call with somebody, I might be like, oh, I was busy, but really that's actually not the truth. And so I often have to like stop myself and be like, no, let's be honest. But
Yeah.
it can be tough because yeah, it's just something that I feel like, yeah, because even you see it like in babies, they lie, they fib, they do something, like, did you do that? And they're like, no, right? Like, we like lie since we're children, and so it's kind of ingrained in sometimes the survival instincts, or not wanting to offend people, or not wanting to like hurt
Yes.
so we kind of put together these little fibs, and so it can be really difficult to be honest all the time, I find.
But you did touch on something from an integrity perspective too that I find very common in business is not following through with your commitments.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, we all are guilty of missing a call or forgetting a call, or it happens. But when you consistently don't show up when you're supposed to show up, or you like here's one that I really struggle with my own integrity on. I sign up for all of these free webinars or summits or meetings or whatever, and then I'll admit I miss like half of them. And I do have that knowledge that, okay, I didn't pay for it, and that's why you should probably always charge if you really want people to show up, FYI. um, but it's a calendar balancing thing of, can I really make this? Or like this week I had deadlines and there were some things I just had to miss because I have deadlines. But I feel that little twinge of guilt every single time I don't show up for one of those things that I sign up for. And the organizers probably have no idea that I specifically didn't show up, but they see their numbers, like they had
Mm-hmm.
150 show up, and or 150 sign up and 50 show up, and that's got to be crushing for them. And I'm just one of the many that are like, oh, I didn't pay for it. I'll skip it.
Right, right.
So,
Yeah.
but I
Maybe
do think
watch
it's
the replay,
really,
maybe not. Yeah.
yeah. And I do think it's so important that we do, especially when it's a one-on-one. I mean, that's an extreme example that we all are probably guilty of, but when we commit to doing something, that's part of our integrity too. And people remember when you don't. You may
Yeah.
think they don't, but they do.
Yeah.
And they
Especially if
probably
it's
think of it every time they see you or every time they talk to you, and they have this little thing in the back of their mind. They said they were going to do this and they didn't.
right. Yeah. Yeah. And even if that does happen sometimes, because sometimes it can be just general, like you can actually just forget, like, oh yeah, I said I do that in a meeting and I totally forgot, and so I always really appreciate it if someone does bring it up and be like, oh, hey, did you ever get around to that? You always ask it in a nice way. And sometimes I'd be like,
Yeah.
oh, like, wow, I'm so sorry. I completely forgot about that. It's just, again, being totally
Right.
honest,
Well,
like just
right.
being,
Well,
yeah, authentic in it. Yeah.
I've heard you mention that you have challenges with memory sometimes, and I have a lot of challenges with memory with the tumor and with the medications I'm on from the tumor. My memory, like I literally can't remember something. If I don't write it down, it's gone. And I have so many reminder systems, and I still I've gotten to the point lately I have to set an alarm out loud if I have a phone call coming up, because if I'm engrossed, I miss all the dings and calendar things and I forget.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I know some people like that, where they like, that's one thing that their like virtual assistant does. Calls them and be like, you have a call right now in 1 minute. Like, you stop whatever you're doing and like switch that. Or like, oh, okay. Like, and like that's actually what they ask their VAs to do, because
Oh my
yeah.
gosh, never thought of doing that. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Because I remember once I was with somebody, and it was like on a personal side, and they're like, no one's calling me today to remind me I have to go get to this thing. And I was like, oh, okay. Do you want me to be that person for you? Like, I can be.
Right.
Yeah.
I love it.
So let's dive into our topic and talk about like branding and websites. So why is branding so important?
It goes right back to the authenticity. It ties right in. Branding, you know, honestly, for the first 5 years of my business, I thought branding was colors and fonts. And that is certainly part of branding. That's the visual part of branding that needs to be there and is very important. But branding is who we are, especially as self-employed entrepreneurs. Like we are our business. We are selling ourselves as much, if not more, than the business. So our brand is us. And if that is not what's coming through in our marketing and our website and our posts on LinkedIn and our comments, then we're not being authentic. And that can be really obvious when it doesn't line up. And that can really affect your marketing. So the branding is just really knowing who you are, what you represent, starting with the values, like that is like number one. And then, how should I come across? How do I want to come across? And then nailing that down so that your messaging is consistent as well as your look is consistent. Because I mean,
Mm,
you can't see me because we're talking, but my visual brand is very important to me. It's very colorful. If you get on my website, it's all color. I wear very colorful glasses on purpose. I want to be known as bright and cheerful and colorful, and that comes across in my branding. Doesn't mean everybody, by the way, should have that as their brand. I don't do that on anyone else's websites. It needs to be consistent with their brand, but that's part of my brand. But it's that being authentic, and that's what I help people do is capture. First, we have to figure out what is your brand and who are you, and then capture that throughout everything. And then consistency is the next key to that because branding is worthless if it's not consistent across everything you do.
yeah, yeah. And it's interesting how you kind of get known for it as well, or just like someone sees your post and they're just like, oh, that's so you, that's so your brand, and you kind of want people to think that and so they can
Yes.
recognize it without even,
My glasses are so unique. I've been wearing these now for 6 years. And I have run into people that I met at an event like 3 years ago that had no idea what my name was, but they run up to me and go, "Glasses! Oh my God, I know you from your glasses." It's that impact. It's just exactly why I do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you want that. You want that brand to be memorable and visual enough that people do recognize it. Absolutely.
Yeah. And it can be anything as well. It can be any type of like tone, right? You don't have to be that vibrant color. You could be like, I kind of
Right.
chose more calming kind of colors because I find when clients come to me and they're launching their business, it's a very stressful time. So I kind of want to be that more grounded person for them, like a little more
Yes.
calm and try to be like, I can
Yes.
take this stress down level, like, and trying that sort of like something that I kind of like to represent. And so I think
I
that's as
love
well
that.
as like when you come with your branding, who are you and like, yeah, what do you stand for and what is it that you do? But also like, what is it that you want to be for your clients? Like I remember when I went, did my coaching certifications and one of the founders talked about that. She's like, we like, when I come and do this and do these talks and talk to the students, she's like, I want to act as sort of like their best friend. Like I want to be that kind of like casual, conversational, and positive and like pick them up kind of person, as opposed to being the teacher, authoritative, or like. So that was really
Yeah.
like the way that she wanted to come across, and I think it also was authentic to her, but she wasn't necessarily that way all the time. But that's really like the who she embodied
Yeah.
as herself when she was in front of
And that's part of understanding your archetype as well and
us.
pulling that into your branding, which is also really, we need to know who we are. And there's so many archetype type programs out there to really understand. Like I'm like girl next door combined with magician. So it's that. I said I open up to people and they tend to open up to me, and I'm very creative. So it's, right on. I never want to, come across authoritative or, I'm sure I do, but, yeah, we have to know kind of our archetype and how that is going to come across, in everything. And like I said, it comes down to consistency.
Yeah,
Because if
yeah.
you want to, if you've come across super authoritative in in like, let's say LinkedIn, you come across super authoritative in one post, and then your next post, you're girl next door, or you're very passive and it's a completely different voice. That can be really confusing. And we probably don't put a lot of thought into that when we're doing it, but the people reading it that you're trying to attract will
Right.
subconsciously pick up on that. And that
Hmm.
inconsistency can come across as not being authentic as well.
Right. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Very interesting. So let's go into websites. And, are they, some people, I've heard them say that, oh, I've made tons of money with my business and I didn't have a website and all these kinds of things, but I still think they're super important. So yeah, are they really necessary, or like kind of like, is a landing page good enough, or, let's dive into that.
I feel like I have this conversation multiple times a week. Because, and especially today, we are definitely getting to a place where, with some types of businesses and some programs and some ways that people do things, they don't have to have a website and they survive and thrive on very successful landing pages. Like, I want to stress here, the landing page, just any old landing page doesn't necessarily do it. It's got to be the right landing page. But the landing page itself, in my opinion, is not what's selling the program. It's what's getting them to the landing page. So how are you getting the clients? If you're having a summit, a master class, a webinar, a speaking event, that's what's selling them. And yes, they're going to go to the landing page and they're going to buy, and they bypass the whole website situation. So yes, in those cases, I know people have done it, are doing it, and they're doing it very well. And I know some very successful people that have never had a website. But, and I'm going to put a huge but here,
Yeah.
but if you are not on stages, you're not running big master classes with hundreds of people showing up, you're not in those positions, and you are wanting to build your business through relationship building and recognition, a website's mandatory. Uh, First and foremost, is what I tell everybody: your website means you're in business. Like, if you don't have a website and people go looking for you, you're going to be considered a side hustle or non-existent. And
Hmm.
I'm going to totally off topic, but I'm going to align that with your email as well. If you have a Gmail for your email, people are going to think the same thing. That's just a side tip. Please spend the $84 a year with Google Workspace and have a custom email so that you look like you're in business. But that's, the website, the point of the website is a place that people can go to find out who you are. That's not the only and not the primary purpose. That they're wanting to know, can you solve my problems? That's their number one thing. Can you solve my problems? So that's the first thing a website has to show is, this is who I serve, this is how I serve them, this is the problem I solve, this is, I know your pain points and I can
Right.
address them. Like, that is more important than any accolade, any initials after your name. That is first and foremost. But then within that, they want to know, do we align? If you've got videos, and they can see you and experience you, because they may or may not have ever met you in person. If
Right.
you've got a freebie and something that's very valuable that they could download or watch, then you're helping to build that know, like, and trust. You're working on the trust part. If you've got media on there that they can watch and see, like, let's say they're looking at you to be on a podcast. You go to my website, you're going to see a whole page of podcasts that I've been on, so you know exactly how I'm going to be when I'm interviewed.
Right.
You don't have to wonder, is she going to be a good podcast guest, because I've got the examples there. So it should be the hub of your marketing. That's its real point, is the hub of your marketing, and that place to start building the know, like, and trust, while establishing that, yes, you really are a business and people really can come to you to solve their specific problems. And you do have to be very specific who you're serving and what you're doing to solve their problems.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think with the website as well, like you were saying, like, is it just sort of like a side gig or is it not? And I think that, people still do that. People still Google you. People, will still look up a website, like, are you out there in existence? And they still want to do like to do some type of research. I find what
Yeah.
is that? There was some, I can never remember what the book is, but there's somebody who talked about all the different touch points you have to have with people. There's some like 1174 something like that, where it's like they spend so much time. Like people need to nowadays, usually before they buy from you or work with you, will need to have several different touch points of ways that they can get your content and spend actually several hours. So whether that be in a webinar or researching on your website or
Hmm.
listening to a podcast episode of yours or reading your emails, there's all these different touch points that builds that know, like, and trust before they will actually even consider purchasing. And so
Yes.
your website can be one of those many touch points, and it can be really important because they
Yes.
can go back there and they can spend as much time as they like on there. And it can, and you're saying, like you're just saying, you can give them other touch points. You can give them a gift. You can give them links to podcasts. You can give them a video.
Yes.
So even on your website itself, you could do several of those things, and they could spend several hours on there um,
Absolutely.
to build
Yes.
that, and then they're more likely to purchase.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's really, and it's not to say that the website is the only thing that people need. I say I'm an authority. Boy, I just all of a sudden lost who am I again? I'm an authority amplifier.
Yes,
Like completely lost who I was for a moment. Who am I again? Anyway, but amplifying your authority won't just be through your website. I mean, honestly, especially like if you're working nationally, especially a coach, there are so many coaches out there. Like you have to do a lot of things, a variety of things to have visibility to align with the website. And that's why I'd say it's the hub of many things. I if I just sat and waited for my website to be the only thing that brought me clients, I probably would be out of business.
right.
And I probably shouldn't say that as a web designer, but it's true. I mean, I don't ever preach to people that a website is the end all be all answer to everything. You still have to have visibility. And if you're doing it right, when someone Googles your name, all those things show up. Your website's there, but so is your LinkedIn. So are your magazine articles, so are your podcasts that you're on. And, every single thing, like if you're doing it right, hopefully you're filling up a page with just everything that you're doing to be visible. And your website's part of that, and hopefully the hub to help people find other things about you and learn more in depth.
Exactly. Yeah. So and there's something that you said earlier about which I think is so key, and I think that is really the way that sort of entrepreneurship and the coaching world is moving towards is about that building relationships. Like if your business now, I feel like, and people are craving this more and more, especially like since COVID and all of that, they want that relationship. So they want more sort of one or even if it's in groups and things like that, which is fine. But people want that. And so your website is a way of doing that. If your business model is about building relationships with people and that's eventually how you get clients, the website is a key aspect of that.
Absolutely. Yes. And
Yeah.
the other things that websites can do, you know, I really try to help people keep everything in one place if at all
Mm.
possible. I don't build on Go High Level. I realize like that would be the ultimate, having everything in one place. I do encourage people to use it, just not for their website, but you can have membership on your website. You can have courses through your website. You can have your podcast RSS feed to your website. You don't want to host it on your website, but you have all these things you can do on your website to where it's a platform. It's an authority platform, not just a page. And I feel like a landing page is a landing page. It's one piece. I mean, I build landing pages. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
All of my websites have landing pages, but it's one piece of the bigger puzzle.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So let's dive into just for a few minutes about like what sort of your process is and like, how, or if you can give us a tip on like how um, someone can sort of identify and clarify their brand.
Well, I started the Authority Blueprint a few months ago, and that is now the very first thing in all of my processes going forward because it's miraculous in my opinion. And I can't take full credit. If anybody knows who Molly Mahoney is, we went on the marketing cruise last year. I met her. I immediately fell in love, and I spent 5 minutes doing this branding exercise and went, holy moly, my clients need this so bad. So I joined her program and immediately went, oh my gosh, I've got to build this. So I built the authority blueprint with branding in mind. And we literally start with the very first thing is the value statement. And the next thing is really clarifying your products. And then what differentiates you? What sets you apart? Why are you different, better? And then we nail down the ideal client. And what I love about it is it's not just, oh, they're a small business, maybe a female small business owner. Great. No, this is like 3 pages of how do they think? What makes them laugh? What makes them angry? What were they like before they met you? What were they like after they met you? What motivates them? What are their values? And then a whole section on their demographics. So now and I can do this. I love that I can do this with people that I don't even build websites for. So it's a freestanding product, but it's also the very first step of any website, because then we both go into the website building knowing that we know the brand. Oh, I missed that we also go into your tone of voice and all of that good stuff. So I do all of this. I spend about 2 hours with someone figuring all this out, and then I build a custom GPT from it. And then that custom GPT they can use and I can use, their VA can use, their marketing people can use, anybody can use, and it's in their voice, speaking to their ideal client. It knows how they're different. And you can probably tell I just get so excited about it because it's changed my world for content building. I mean, I have, I can have 20 different GPTs open and go, okay, I need some help with this about section. Help me out, and it's boom, here you go. Here's and it's done so well that I mean, obviously you have to read it and make sure that it's right, but I don't have to correct it hardly at all. I mean, it's amazing. And I've had many people say, well, I don't need that because I've already trained my GPT. That's great.
Mm,
This is like a level deeper. It's your trained GPT with much more specific information. And you also can't share your own GPT with anyone else that's helping you. So this, is
yeah.
universal in that, like if you have a VA or if you have a web developer, you have someone. So that's number one. It is mandatory for all of my website clients now, like that we spend 2 hours. And, I had one client, it was like 40 minutes because they were a brand new business. They had a very specific service. It wasn't as necessary to the detail that we do with someone that's got 3 different programs and they're established, and they might have 3 different versions of ideal clients, which
Right.
by the way we do up to 3, so that you might have programs that are different ideal client bases. So I do all of that, and then I build the website to needs. I don't have a one thing you'll notice if you look at my websites, none of them look alike because they're on brand. I don't use like a set template that every website's going to look like this.
Right.
And some are 1 pages, some are 20 pages. It's built to the needs of the individual and their brand and their products and their financial situation in some cases.
Right.
I really try to be cognizant of all of those different factors in the process. So in terms of a tip, one thing I would say is if you're feeling like I can't afford a website, or I don't, there's no way I have the money to invest in it, at least start with a single page. There's so much you can do with a single page. But also on the other side of that tip, don't feel like you can put the entire world on one page, because remember, people have to scroll on a mobile. So if you try to
Yes.
put what should be on 10 pages on one page, then that could be a nightmare. But, start with something that gets your name out there and get it on brand.
Yes. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for that. Yeah, it's true. Yeah. Know where you're at. And yeah, even if you can just do that page, it's yeah. And we kind of talked about that earlier as well. Like we're talking about that, like how you can help them be specific about that. And that's really like sort of the thing you can have at the top. So awesome. Well, thank you so much. We're talked about so many different things. That I love that we both have in common. We both came from the PM corporate world. And then that you're, proof in the pudding that you can find your passion. And like after 40, which is also amazing, I feel like we get so much pressure around that. It's like, you got to
Yeah.
figure out what you're going to do. And sometimes, I have like younger nieces and nephews who are just sort of like either graduating high school or graduating college, and they're like, I don't know what I want to do. I'm like, I don't know. They're like, don't worry about it. It's okay. It can take a
You don't have
while.
to figure it out the first time. Some of us are
Yeah.
on our third careers. It's
Right.
okay.
It's okay. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Then we went through some, like, we all talked about different branding and how, like, your values, and you may want to talk about how you come across and have consistent looks, and really consistency is key when it comes to your branding. And then we talked about your website, how indeed they are important, especially if you're in the relationship building type of business, and that's how you get your clients, and they can really help. And that if you do, and then Lori took us through your blueprint, her blueprint, and kind of talked about her process of how she does that, and that, yeah, even if you just have a one page, get it up there. That'll help you build authority. That'll help you get more visible, and will bring people into your world. And it'll be one of those touch points that builds that trust as well.
And
So,
then make sure you're also linking to that website
mm,
everywhere. It amazes me sometimes how many people on LinkedIn don't have a link to their website, or a broken link to their website, even worse. But if you have a website, make sure everything links to it. Like, that's how it works. It's not a hub if people can't find it. It's a
right.
link to it.
Exactly. Yeah, you can even have it in like your email, like footer or signature as
Yeah.
well.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. And speaking of linking to websites, would this be a good time to mention the link to
Yes.
my website?
Yes, please. Yeah. Where can they find you online? Yeah.
So my website is bizbolster.com, and I do have a freebie. And this is not a quick download, read it freebie, though there is one on this page. This is an actual I will spend time with you freebie. It is an authority visibility audit. So I use my automation, my GPT, to go out and search the internet and look at your social media, your website, your Google profile, all of it, and come back, and it analyzes everything that it looked at and provides a score. And then I get on a call with you and go through where you're lacking, where you're strong, what you could do to improve things, just to establish just a little more authority online.
So, wow, that sounds amazing. Everybody should definitely climb on that. We'll have a link for that in the show notes for sure. That's so cool. Yeah, even if you could just get one tip, because sometimes, some one little tweak can actually make a huge difference. And so,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
absolutely. Absolutely.
I love that. Thank you. And to finish off, do you have any final words of wisdom?
I would just say it is so critical that we do take the time and energy to find our passion and live our passion. I am grateful every day I do this business, because I love what I do so much. I mean, I can't wait to get to my desk in the morning and start building websites. That is what I love doing, and helping people show up online. So I really encourage people to, if you're doing something that you hate, or you just cringe at, or you don't get excited to get to your desk, take some time to find it, because it is life changing when you do that. Absolutely.
Amazing. Thank you. It's so amazing. Great having you here. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It has been a pleasure.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode. I hope it inspired you to live a more authentic life. I'd love your help in inspiring more people to live authentically. So please follow, rate, and leave a review so we can create a ripple effect of authenticity. Until next time, stay true to you, be bold, and thrive on your own terms. This is Elisa, signing off authentically.